Oh boy. There we go. Else you got peep my thumbnail. I want you to be surprised by it.
I will. I'm gonna put mine in real quick, then I'll go check it out. I hope I'm still the Vec. That's all I'm hoping for.
I actually got a little bit more creative with it. Especially with your new logo.
Oh, did you use that?
It's
it's
it with the twist.
So what Vexlent is
Especially
seeing
with
right now is
Jamie-
actually not
Jamie
Kevin,
being a
but
tank
proxy
just
of
as a
Kevin
spoiler.
is
It
what
just,
we've
it just worked
deemed it.
out.
Is it really Kevin?
Yeah, who knows?
If only we could actually duplicate Kevin.
It's a bit of
Hunter,
gigantism.
expand a little bit on,
Oh,
you
now
know,
I'm
a lot
nervous.
of people
kidding.
who obviously aren't familiar with game development. They might not understand
Jamie,
the
remind me how to
terminology of
pop out a
debugging
chat.
tools, right? So talk a little bit about what a debug tool is.
Right. So when making a networking solution as
I'll be your
complicated
shield,
as
Jamie.
this, we need a lot of
Oh, we're
information
live.
about the state of the world, what's happening, where things are going on. So we've
don't
developed a
know
lot
how
of
you
like
can-
debugging tools that can be
'Cause I send you my
used
pop-up.
inside the game and outside of the game, which these tools kind of help us collect that information, see where all the important
Welcome in,
things
everybody.
are happening,
Good to
see
see you.
where a failure
Imperial?
might be going on.
Imperial, what are you doing
So
here?
in this particular instance,
Desert
we have a
Buzz?
debug tool
What's going
that's
on?
in game that allows our developers to kind of draw these server borders so that you can kind of see while you're playing, like, okay, there's a border here. And then if QA is testing something, they can be like, okay, we transferred across the server and then this broke. So that means something's
There
probably
is.
wrong with the server transfer. So that can kind of just help you like
Just
narrow
finishing up
down
my
more of the
YouTube
problem
settings.
space and give you
Excellent.
that necessary information of like what was going on
Excellent.
at the time. Because without that,
And I'm
if
good
we
to
have it
go.
turned off, you
Just
pretty
wanna
much
post it in
hopefully
Discord
should
real
not be able to
quick.
tell the difference between the proxy we talked about or the actual actor.
Saw a notification have a bit
Um,
before anime
You can
night
kind of
begins.
think of the
What anime are
proxies
you
here
watching?
as a puppet. Any actual
I know, like,
action that was done
6 of
by
them.
the actual actor on its own like authority server, which is the server that owns it, it's then replicated to this proxy on your server, which then gets replicated to yourself, so that you can kind of see the
There we go.
representation
All right, I'm
of
ready, Nice. I'm
Kevin
ready to
as
get
if
this
he
party
was on the same
started.
server as you.
We're
It's
gonna.
going to be a party.
I think
We
we're
do
gonna
it
do
in
a
a form of like
2-hour-long
we call it
discussion on steak
lightweight
cuts
because it's an
and
up-to-date
cooking
copy
methods.
of the original
I
actor,
think we'll
but
call
we
it
Sounds
a
can
day
good.
after
That
that.
sounds
our
perfect.
developers can specifically control
I'll about as much
like
to
what
contribute
does
to
and
that
doesn't
as I
get sent
did the
to this
server
actor,
meshing.
so that we're more optimal in like what we're sending, how
favorite
we're
things.
sending it, and when we're sending
Yes.
it. Whew, that was a mouthful.
All right. Changing. And I
So now,
am good to go.
I think the other thing
Oh,
you know,
okay.
to think about
I haven't
Hunter,
heard of that
Zach,
one
Anton,
before.
is that not a
Fix
lot
my
of players
settings here.
obviously follow development of the games that they're excited about, right? They
There we
wait
go.
Decent
until,
fun,
Perfect. There we
you know,
are.
the game is ready to play and
Cool starting
marketing begins
screen.
and you know they can join in
Thank you,
and
thank you.
purchase or whatever.
Cool
Obviously,
person made it.
Ashes has followed a little bit of a different path where we're giving people a bit of insight into
Alright.
you know what it actually takes to make these types of games. And we
All right. Are we
generally
good to go?
tend not to delve
I'm
too
ready.
deeply into the highly
All
technical
right, so,
components of our
what episode
development
are we?
process because
53.
that's where a little
Alright.
bit of a
53,
cliff
that's how old I
starts
am.
to form
Damn.
of player
Yeah,
interest,
53.
even you know viewership interest.
All right. Welcome
because,
to another episode
it's
of
nice to
the
have the
Voices
magic
of
work in the
Verra with myself,
background,
Nice
and
Gaming,
you don't
no
necessarily
one,
care or want to
and
know
you,
how or
the
why
Voices
it's working,
of
just that
Verra,
it
as
feels
always.
good.
But today
that
we
the,
have some
you know, it's
special guests.
responsive,
We are
and that,
joined
you know,
by the
it
Tangents of
accomplishes from
Creation,
a gameplay
Jamie
loop
Chaos
perspective
and
what you're
Annie
expecting it to.
Lace. If
But
you guys
you
are aware
know,
of us, I'm sure you're
because
aware
of
of
the
their
level
show
of
on Twitch
complexity,
and YouTube,
because of the
the
amount
Tangents
of
of
effort,
Creation.
because
Really,
of
one of my
what we're
favorite
trying
shows.
to
I love the
create
dynamic.
is a
Whether
next
it's the,
generation
I don't know, it's just a
level of
certain
complexity of
different thing
gaming.
that you don't really get from too many shows.
We feel it's important
Jamie
to
is raw,
provide you
uncut,
guys an
unedited,
opportunity to get some
and you would think
insight
Amy's
into
you
what
probably
we're
think,
doing that's
yeah,
unique,
and you think,
into
oh,
what
and
we're
Annie's the
doing
nice one
that
that's
is
bouncing.
going
No,
to
Jamie, Annie's right there. She's a
service
little bit more calm with it, but
long-term
she's right there. They match each other's
MMORPG
energy.
at the
So
scale
yeah, this
that
is gonna
we
be a
start
need
getting
fun
some
Ashes
episode.
liquor
to
and you're
be.
like, oh my
And
god.
that
Hey,
requires
this is
yeah.
why I
really
wasn't need to be
smart
worried
people in
about.
the room
That's
who are
right.
You know what?
creating
If someone
proprietary
donates even
technology
$1, Annie
that
has to take a
allows
shot.
us to
There you go.
achieve
That's the
in a
rule.
way that presents players with a
I have
game at the
wine.
quality they expect.
Oh, I should go get me
And
some
so,
wine.
you
I'll
know, I
probably end up
think
getting
this
some
is a
wine at
lot
some
of
point.
a lot of fun to kind of have you guys
Welcome
come
on in, Gut
and
Schooler,
explain this
Keyboard
front
Oracle,
facing. It can
Trent,
be a
Verra News
mouthful. It
Network. How
can
you
be a
guys doing?
headful to
Welcome on
kind of
in.
digest. But at the
You
same
wonder what the
time,
average age
yeah,
for
I know,
AOC
know
will
when you're
be?
done. But
So
at the same time, it gives
I
you
think
now
we're
an
gonna have a lot of
opportunity
boomers.
to
I think we're
really
gonna have a
see
lot
Yeah, I
of
was
how
gonna
that
say
the
it's gonna be all of
sausage
us
is
boomers.
made.
We're gonna have
Right.
You know what
And I think
though?
that's cool.
Fupo has
Fifty-year-old
I could talk
told
about this all
me,
day.
because I brought this up
People don't
multiple
talk about
times,
this.
and
There's so
Fupo said
many
you're going to be
games that
very
are
surprised.
doing
Multiple times when
things
I bring
like
up my
this. Not
demographic
exactly,
or
but
the
like,
people that watch
you know,
me,
there are other games that
he
have to
goes,
solve these problems.
I think you might be
And,
surprised at what
other
the
games don't
demographic
talk
is for
about
Ashes.
this. You know, this is
Oh.
a first.
Yeah, so I've been like, what do you know?
Right.
What do you know, Fupo?
Yeah, so
See,
as you see in the
Magisto's
video,
he's where I'm
you
at.
can see into
35.
the
I'm
other
thinking
server.
30 to 35
But now you're
range.
probably
Like
thinking,
you, like
okay,
what you see on
what if I
YouTube
want to
analytics or the
interact with
typical
this
MMO
proxy?
audience.
How do
I
I
don't
do that
imagine a
across the
bunch
server
of
boundary?
18, 19-year-olds, kids in
Well,
college. I don't imagine it being
because the
too many of
proxy is
them.
like a
Trent says
puppet
I'll be the youngest
controlled by the
AOC player
higher
at
authority.
23. But then
We
again,
basically
we can
just now
start off with
need
this random
events that we
conversation.
can
I think
send from
those
the proxy
that
up
younger
to its
crowd,
authority.
the ones with
And
a
then we
lot of
tell
free
the
time,
authority
those are
that
the
we
ones
want
that's
to
going to end
modify
up being
data
the
or
perfect
execute
mayor.
some action on
Like
the authority
someone that
server
can really
Right.
know
so that
like
it
this
can then
game,
You're
have
not
replicate down
wrong.
to the proxy and
a
then
bunch
back
of
to
free
you.
Wasn't there?
time.
Oh gosh, there
We
was some
have what we
girl.
call a
I
cross
can't remember
server
who it
event
was. I
or
think
an
Jamie, you know who
inter-server
I'm talking
event
about.
that's
She's
done
Yeah,
through
like
what
Zara
is
19.
back in the
normally
game when
known as an
I think
That's
Zara's
who it
RPC or
is.
remote
when
procedure
is that?
call, which
Yeah,
allows
Yeah,
she
Zara.
started
Zara.
the
Yeah,
game
she
when
backed
she was
it when she
16.
was like, yeah,
our
16.
goal
I
with
was
the
like,
cabinet
geez,
is to
priorities.
make
You got them
all the
straight.
routing and
Yeah,
the
we
actions that we
interviewed
do as
Zara
fast as
what,
possible
5 months ago
so that
now?
we can keep the
But,
Oh man,
latency
was
and
it that long ago?
interactions
Yeah,
between
Yeah, it's been
servers a
it's been a
pretty
while.
seamless
Shit.
experience.
it's
Uh,
crazy.
And you hopefully
Yeah,
shouldn't
I
even
think
be
it's
able
going
to
to come
tell
down
the
to
difference
combat.
between, like I
Like
said, a
if
proxy
the Ashes
or an
combat is
authoritative
fun,
actor.
I could see people
Yeah,
coming in.
and I guess
But
to add here,
if
this
it
is so
has more of
important
that old
because,
school
you know,
feel
these
to it,
server
where it's a
borders
little
that we're
bit more
talking about,
slower
they're
and timed,
invisible.
like I think the
You won't
demographic
know
could be
where
a
they
little bit
are.
older. But we'll see.
Mhm.
We'll see.
So
I mean, that's a true take, though. I think it's the younger generation that likes or prefers the action combat. I think even I was watching Peon's Throne and Liberty video today. And he was talking like, you know, if you're going to do tab target in 2024, it better be good or at least
Right.
close to
Mhm.
WoW.
And as you can
Which
see in
is
like
a
the video
true
here, we
take,
have some
a fun
fighting
take.
across
I
the
think that's
border.
where a
You
lot
can
of
see while
people
we're fighting
are
kind of over
at
the
with it. Like a
boundary.
lot of people,
Combat and
I've gotten
everything
that
seems
comment. I
pretty
don't know if you
seamless and
guys gotten it.
smooth as
I've
you
gotten
would
that comment
expect
a
it
lot, like
without
tab target
any
in
noticeable
2024, and they
issues.
just like
Yeah.
instantly like,
This is
really?
kind of
Is that what we're
showcasing
doing?
like what we can
Yeah.
do with
I think
just those events
our
and that
demographic's a
replication
bit
we
different
talked
because
about.
I
We
think
can
I've
have
got a
these
lot of
like
older viewers. I think a lot of
in-depth
my guys are like
battles
in their
or
50s.
interactions
For some reason,
between
I
the
pull into
servers
Boomer
with
though.
hardly any downside.
But
Yep.
I think a lot of them are on the same kind of opinion that I am, where melee feels really good to have the action combat, and
Yes.
then range feels really good to have some type of tab or that soft lock.
Yeah.
I think the idea of like New World bows in a game where you're trying to get thousands of people is just I think it's just fucking dumb.
Yeah, I wouldn't play Ranger if that was the way they were planning on doing it.
Imagine
No,
missing
thank
every
you.
shot just because there's a little bit of lag.
Oh, I don't have to
Yeah, no,
imagine.
thank you.
I don't have to imagine at all. I played Bo in New World, so
We've lived this nightmare.
Speaking of combat, actually, I'll tell you what, because we have a good tangent there. See what I did there? We have a good tangent there into action combat. But before we get into that, this is something special that it happens every so often. But you two are content creators, of course. I have you guys tagged on YouTube. If you guys are here, no matter which platform you're watching on, make sure you give these guys a sub, a follow. Like it's a really really good videos from Jamie. We actually reacted to one of his videos before. All the ones with Annie on the thumbnail, watch those. They're amazing. Really good.
That was the best one.
But you guys also already have a guild ready for Alpha 2.
Oh shit.
We'll get into that, but first let's talk about your content, your show, what inspired you guys to start it, how long you've been doing it, all that. Like just lay it all out. If you guys want to take turns, just talk to us. Let us know about the tangents of creation.
I'll let you start, Annie.
No, you go. God
She
damn it, the
keeps
guild's
doing
your thing.
We're not talking about the guild. We're
I've
talking
just
about what
pushed
got
you
us into
into it,
content
no.
creating. Well, actually, what Annie just said, basically,
your
she kind of pushed me into starting content, doing content. We originally started off by doing Conan Exiles. That's how we got affiliate. Was we loved Conan, so we were playing that, and then we were talking and like all the time, just throughout. I mean, even today, I would like just throughout the house, just talking about Ashes constantly. And I was like, we could do this as a show. Like we could just go live and do this as a show. And that's kind of like where that idea spurred, where we're like, we started doing it. I was like, man, I don't even know if we'll get past this first episode. But the first time we did it, like there was a really good response. We saw a bunch of people popping in chat, and I was like, what? Like, because I went from like having maybe like, you know, 4 or 5 people watching me play Conan, till all of a sudden I've got like, I think the first time that we ever streamed in the Ashes channel, we had like 30 people watching.
Oh,
And I was like,
nice.
what the fuck is happening right now? Yeah. And I'll let you fill any gaps.
Well, little
It's being put
tip
on the spot.
for new streamers: if you want to get viewers quicker, stream Conan Exiles because they have a very, very loyal fan base, and there's not a lot of streamers that stream it. So at least that's
Nice.
how it worked out for us. But yeah, no, I mean, Jamie, he gets a bit of imposter syndrome with things, and like he's very well spoken. So I was like, you need to do something with this talent you have. So he was resistant to it. So he's like, it's never gonna be perfect. Like I need to get like all this crazy stuff, and I was like, no, you just need to do it and then evolve as it goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what happened. And if you look at some of our first episodes, you will see that we
Oh,
indeed did
God.
evolve because our scenes and everything were horrendous. Jamie was like totally into epilepsy at the time. Or like there's
Dude,
so
they-
many flashing lights and like effects
Oh,
things. And I was
man.
like,
The-
oh my God. I was like, you
the
need to tone it
original-
down. I was like, you want people to be focusing on what you're saying, not all these like little streams of fire and things that are going.
I can't
Oh, it's
even
so
watch
funny.
the original I can't even watch the original episodes because it's just I thought I had like the overlays perfect. It looked great. And then looking back now, I just cringe. Even listening to myself talk where I'm like, oh my, because we had kind of started off like thinking about being more of like a real podcast. And then over time, things kind of evolved where like I really wouldn't consider ourselves a podcast. Like people obviously do listen to it like on Spotify and stuff like that. But it just, I don't know. It feels different than that, at least from what I'm used to with podcasts. So I was like,
Yeah.
I was very quiet. I would talk like this. I wouldn't yell.
We were
I
also
wouldn't
in the
swear.
same room. We were in a like, gosh, like a 12 by 10 room streaming together. So like it was a small room. So like he had to be more quiet because when we had starter mics, so we did not have the mics that were as
Yeah.
good at cutting each other out.
Yeah.
Picking up
no,
on each other's
it's
mic
kind
and
of funny.
everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Constantly.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
funny when I started my channel, I had one of those $20 PC mics, you know, just the
Uh-oh, I think
little
we froze.
Oh.
Did we freeze?
Oh.
Is that us?
Oh,
just
yeah.
just Jamie froze on my
Just
end.
Jamie. Oh no, come back to us, Jamie.
Come on, Jamie.
There
There
we
we
go.
go,
I
we're
dropped
back.
out for
There
like
he
a
is.
second. Dropped out for a second.
Yeah,
I
so
was like, what happened?
I thought he was just shocked at what she said.
I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? And I was like, oh, you know, I'm not going to be into this too serious. I'll just use a $20 mic. And I think I used that for 5 or 6 months. And I looked to upgrade. And the minute I upgraded to this microphone, I went back and listened to my old stuff and like all the feedback and everything. You hear all the clanging and like everything going around. I was like, this sounds like this sounds like shit. Like, why was I doing this for so long? And I hid all those videos, every single one, because I couldn't even hear them anymore. They were so bad.
Dude, don't talk to
is
me about that. Like before,
What is that they say though?
no,
Oh,
before
sorry,
I was a
gonna say,
big time
what is that
streamer.
they say?
As far as like the come up or whatever.
You had the headset microphone for a while, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you
Oh,
had
man.
the
So well, my situation, like before I was getting sponsors for microphones like this, I didn't know nothing when I first got my PC. I bought a like PC mic, but I didn't get the right kind.
Mhm.
It's for a dad
Oh,
that
no.
has kids running around, so it picked up everything. Dude, I'm still ashamed. I'm still like how El said he hid his old videos. Dude, if you go watch my most viewed Ashes of Creation video, which was on the 64 classes, I am so ashamed of that video, but it's still looked at so much. But if you guys go and listen to that video, I am ashamed. I think I have it as a pinned comment, like, please forgive me. I didn't know any better back then. It's a long video. It took me a while to edit, but I just couldn't do nothing about the sound because it was just the mic I had. You could probably hear my kids in the background. It's an informative video if you can ignore all that. But my goodness, I look back at it like compared to today's quality, I'm like, oh man, we've come a long way.
That's funny. Our most viewed video is the one where I'm talking about more customization options for women that don't make them look like dudes. And
Yes.
in that clip, was where I was like, I have boobs and a butt and I want to be able to put that on my character. And then Steven Sharif is like, we're working on it, like
Working
right
on it.
after. And I was like, oh my God. It's like, I am so embarrassed right now.
Steven is too
That's
cool
So-
for that.
Nice.
That's
Desert
That's been
Viz
the most
goes.
wild thing.
Desert
That's
Viz
been the
goes.
most
I've
wild
watched that
thing
vid.
is
Oh, go
that's
ahead,
been
Jamie.
the most wild thing. It's like Steven like constantly now is like hanging out in our chat, and I'm like,
Mhm.
the first couple times it happened, like I was like getting so fanboyish, and then the other day was talking shit to me, and I was like, what the? It's so wild going
so
from
funny.
like what was I saying? He was saying that he's gonna make it so that everyone except for me sees my name as Tank.
That's fair.
Oh yeah, Jamie is a traitor. Did you guys know that? Jamie...
I'm not a traitor. I just hate Vanguard.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
I'm team anything but Vanguard at this point.
Yeah, true. I
It's
think
like
I
the
prefer
lesser of
Tank
two
over it,
evils.
maybe. Yeah. So getting it back into the topic of combat and everything, I pasted a link to this forum post in our chat here. And if you guys are in the Voices of Verra Discord, you'll probably find it in the VoV previews. This is a forum post. It might be an older one. And here, let me make sure that you guys can see it, chat. One moment. Make sure you guys can pull up the article. There we go. And where is it? Where is it?
Which
There
one is it? Action combat.
So, yep. So
Yeah.
it's titled "Where is the Action Combat?" And this was a forum post from Mr. Cryptic 337. This is way back on June 6th. But I think it's pretty relevant to what we were just discussing. I know I'm a floating head here, you guys. I don't feel like messing with that. Y'all forgive me. So this is from Mr. Cryptic 337. He says, "Greeting, fellow adventurers. As an avid follower of the development progress of Ashes of Creation, I cannot help but express my concerns regarding the direction of its combat system. While the game showcases remarkable progress in various aspects, particularly its stunning visuals and immersive world building, the emphasis on tab target combat in recent updates, notably in the Node Wars update, raises questions about the game's combat experience. While tab target combat has its merits catering to a specific subset of players, I worry that prioritizing it over action combat might alienate a significant portion of the player base. Action combat, known for its dynamic and engaging gameplay, holds immense potential to elevate the gaming experience, offering a more visceral and responsive game style. As we eagerly anticipate the release of Ashes of Creation, I find myself pondering whether the combat mechanics will shine as brightly as the rest of the game. Is the development team fully aware of the community's expectations regarding combat?
Jesus.
Have they considered implementing a
I'm so
true
old right
hybrid
now.
combat system that seamlessly integrates both tab target and action elements? While I remain optimistic about the game's future, I believe it's essential to voice our concerns and aspirations as a community. Let us engage in constructive dialogue and collectively strive for a gaming experience that truly resonates with all players.
Just to point this out, the game isn't being made for everybody.
Mm.
So that tagline at the end, you can just delete that.
What up, Reserved?
B is for back. It's for backpack.
I for inventory. I for
Starting
inventory. Everyone
drama.
knows it.
I'm also I for inventory, but everybody like retches at me when I say that.
Tab is the golden path. All right, so else you seem to like have some feelings about what this forum poster said.
I just think the entire discussion that bounces back and forth between action and tab combat, like 70% of it is just stupid. It's just so
Thank you. Yeah.
It's so mind-numbingly stupid to see because, like, as an example, Nice and I brought this up, but like New World has an action camera. Nobody would ever confuse like New World of being like a very fast-paced game. It's not fast-paced. It's a very
Not
slow.
at all, dude. It's painfully slow.
It's painfully slow to play, but it's got an action. It's action combat, and people are like, oh, it's so fast-paced. But then you can go to some other games, like a game like Throne and Liberty. In my opinion, is way more fast-paced than New World, and it's got tab and it's got hybrid action camera. And so you have this belief of people where they combine the two of tab target slow boomer action camera, fast paced, this, and it's not that at all. And so I do like an action camera. I do. I enjoyed New World. I enjoyed playing it. I do like a hybrid camera as well. And I haven't gotten into too many tab games, but there are plenty of games with tab systems that exist to where the combat can be fun. And focusing in on that specific thing is missing the entire picture. And so you just see it way too much where people have a vendetta against one or the other, where they're like, oh, you got Action Andy's over here wanting something more fast paced, and you have people on the other side going, oh, you guys want all this slow boomer shit. And it's like, it's not about that. It's just the camera scene. Like, it doesn't, it really doesn't matter. That's the part that doesn't matter, but people hyper focus on it way too much, in my opinion.
I'd have to agree with you, because I've seen that before. My argument has always been, and I will die on this hill, that some type of action camera feels amazing for melee, and then having more ranged focus abilities be on tab feels really good. And I feel like in a game where you have massive PvP, where you're looking at the hopeful potential of 500 versus 500, like the performance and lag that you are going to get from trying to aim like a first person shooter is just stupid. Like, anyone wanting that has not sat and thought, what is this going to feel like when I'm trying to kill 20 people at the same time? It doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, oh, I'm going to shoot one arrow at a time. It's to me, it's just the whole argument's asinine. But I would say, like, this sounds like someone who really wants action and not hybrid. And I think Intrepid early on had said they wanted to have, which I don't, maybe it wasn't verbalized well, but I never thought this was going to be an action game. I never once thought this would be like New World. I always thought that it would be something in between, like ESO or Guild Wars 2. Like, when they said that it would be action, where it would be like tab, or like having some type of hybrid system, like that was instantly where I was like, okay, we already have games that are like this. And I think those are the best type of combat systems. I think they just need a lot of refinement, because I think if you look at classic WoW, that combat feels very slow. It feels clunky. Retail feels okay, but they've added a lot more AoE, so it gives you the idea that you have cleaves on your melee abilities. But then, like, looking at something where, so Guild Wars 2 to me feels really floaty. It doesn't feel like you have a lot of impact. And there are things about ESO that I really like, but I don't like tanking in that game, so it was kind of a turn off for me. So I didn't really dive super hard into ESO.
Sure.
I feel it.
So for the people who don't want tab target, I wonder if they're the same people that are afraid of a meta forming. But if you're going to cripple ranged players like that, so they have to use action, you're going to form a meta of only melee.
Yeah, it's tough to, like Jamie, the first thing Jamie said, you can't please everybody. I think Intrepid has been true to their vision, so I'm not sure why this person's like, hey, where's the action combat, when that's not something they ever really promised. Like, it's always been a tab target game with that maybe is try to have action kind of elements, but primarily it is a tab target game. You have the ability to tab to other players. That's just how it is. Now they have the action camera, which is something I can't do. I do not like playing a tab target game without an action camera. It just feels better for me, just personally, as a preference thing. Range combat typically is better with tab targeting. I don't understand how you can watch the fighter showcase, right, and not have been like, holy crap, this, you know what? It's not pure action. It's not my New World. It's not my BDO. But man, if I'm going to play a tab target game, this is the closest I'm going to get to have an action / hybrid. Like, that fighter showcase should have put all that worry to rest. Like, the way melee is and the way just... I'm sorry.
The melee showcase a year ago should have done the same thing. Like, and the fighter just compounded on it. And like let's... I mean, we could even branch out of the MMO circle. One of the most heralded combat games that is out right now is Elden Ring. And guess what? Elden Ring has tab specific abilities within the game. You can lock on to the boss. You could lock on to different opponents. Yes, it has iframes. It has other mechanics around it, but it does have tab mechanics in it. And so the idea that tab could potentially ruin a game's mechanics, I think, is silly, and vice versa. And so, like Nice and I played Throne and Liberty, and I think a lot of what they have, Nice, you did a whole video on it, but like what they have as far as like how their camera is going to work and everything, as far as melee is going to work, I think it's very similar, and it's fun. It's fast. It's very fun, in my opinion.
it always makes me wonder, like, what is this person's main game that they have played? What is their experience from other games? Because I will tell you guys, from even seeing Fighter, like, a lot of it reminds me of Prot Warrior and WoW. Like, there are some differences, but WoW later on in retail started adding a lot more AoEs. So even though it's not quite action cam, and they did actually add an action cam, I think it was at the start of Dragonflight, I think they had added it, but it still had it feels very fast paced. That, to me, that's what I want. I want to be able to have something where I can respond quickly. I want to see something, like I say, you see the fighter with a blitz, the whirlwind. Like, I want to instantly see it, react, do the thing that I want to do, and I don't want to fumble around with trying to make sure, like, oh shit, like I was right there, but I charged at the wrong spot. Like, I want to make sure I picked my target. I'm gonna line up to it and hit that. And to me, that just feels better. And I know they plan to have some type of dodge in there. They also plan to have oh my god, where's the active blocking? So, like, there is a lot of those mixed systems in there, but it always comes back to, like, what game are you, what tab game hurt you to make you not like tab? Was it
Arcade.
was it
Arcade for me.
EverQuest? Because if, dude, I still, like, I think Arcade has some really fast fucking, it depends on the class though, because, like, I love my Blighter. I think it's probably one of my most favorite combat that I've done was with my Blighter, but I understand that, like, some people really dislike it. But I do wonder, like, dude, are you playing EverQuest? Because that version of tab sucks. Like, are we comparing this to how old of the game are you comparing it to?
Yeah.
Well, even go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna catch up with the Voices of Verra here. First off, appreciate everybody being here. If you guys haven't already, make sure you guys are following Jamie and Annie on Twitch, YouTube, all the places. We're gonna catch up with the Voices of Verra. I am monitoring you guys in chat. I see everybody. We got some really good comments, especially in regards to this hybrid action tab, whatever conversation. Sale Goyle, sorry if I said that incorrectly. Do you truly believe a hybrid tab/action system can be a great system in itself, or do you think, as I, that it's the best compromise, the best bridge between players, but it's still kind of two ideas almost opposite glued together? You could honestly look at it that way, that it's not maybe an attempt directly to do this, but it kind of is a compromise. I think Ashes of Creation is a compromise for a lot of MMO players. They pulled elements from a lot of different MMOs. Obviously, they've innovated on a lot of things. They have a lot of unique systems too, right? But they've taken the best aspects of some of the games. Some games that's not even received well, but they did maybe this specific thing right. Like, okay, you could say New World messed up in a lot of different components, right? But maybe they took the Gathering from New World and then put that on steroids, but nothing else, right? And maybe you saw this from WoW, and you want to take that, and then they kind of looked at combat from a general amount of action combat, where you want to talk about ESO, BDO, whatever you're going to say. But they also looked at their arcade, and we know Steven's a big arcade player, and the World of Warcraft, and it's like, okay, we want to do tab, but let's make sure those action players are satisfied. So in short, yes, I do think you could look at it as a compromise. I think in most aspects of Ashes of Creation, it's like, hey, this is what you're going to get. It's not for everybody, but maybe with combat, I think each side should be pleased. Yes, if you're into BDO super action combat, you're not going to get that here. No, but this,
I do have a comment on that though.
Yeah,
because I think that hybrid is the natural evolution of tab. Like, I feel like essentially you went from tab with cleaves, and now you have this more action oriented play style that works really well, where you can still target, so you can focus your single ability attacks, but your actual attack is sweep. It just makes sense that your basic attack would have some type of sweep to it, because it's going to be a conal. I don't think it's, to me, I don't really actually think it's a compromise. I just think it's, if you've been playing MMOs since, God, I don't even remember when I started playing MMOs, but going like all the way back to like 2000, maybe even like 1999, going all the way back, where you only had the option of like single target. And then you move something towards like WoW, where you're like, okay, it's kind of single target, but I've got a lot more AoE abilities.
Yeah.
And then you start moving forward through that, and then you get something like Guild Wars 2, where you're like, dude, we've got hybrid. Then you get the ESO. And I think it's just over time, and seeing it and seeing people like kind of change that, and then trying to refine it, where I feel like Ashes won't be so much a place of compromise as much as refinement of finding what works and then putting that into the game.
Yeah. And to even branch off that, Jamie, the one thing I wanted to mention also is, New World has tab healing. They had to incorporate tab target healing into their game because doing action camera healing in that game is dog shit. It is so
That'd be a
hard to
fucking
do.
nightmare,
Right.
dude. I
It
can't
is,
even
it
imagine
is
that.
brutal. And I
Yeah.
tried it. I was like, I'm gonna throw 3 AoE skills on my bar. I'm gonna try and do the action camera AoE. And like the minute I switch a tab, I was like, this is way easier. This is just it's way easier to do. And so even a game where everybody brings up like the action combat and how awesome it is, New World did tab mechanics as well. So are they hybrid because they have both now for different systems because it's a little bit easier to do? I don't know.
One thing I find really odd is people will like say templated abilities are like action, but I'm like, dude, WoW has templated abilities where like you can see the conal or you can like drop your circle. I'm like, WoW has that. It's not action. It's just this goes back to the whole thing where I was like, it was a Nuclear Tango we were talking, and he's like, really, if you look at both systems, they're really about the fucking same. It's like there's a very minute difference between both systems, but for the most part, they're very, very similar, and they have more things in common than they do differently.
I think for me, like I'd say I'm a bit more casual when it comes to like the types of combat, so tab versus action. And for me, it's about what feels best in the game that you're playing. So
Mm.
if you're playing a single player game, like I can get all about like having action combat for melee and ranged. For example, like Dark Souls, which God, I played that for a bit and that was exhausting, but because I picked a ranger and I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But I
Mm.
think for an MMO, like you have to do what works for the class to make it feel good for the person playing it. So
Yeah.
like it doesn't need to be equal for every single class because then it's technically not equal because they have different challenges and different strengths. So as a ranged person, you're going to be at a huge disadvantage if you are only action and you can't hit anything because for whatever reason maybe you're lagging a bit or whatever, but and whereas melee, like you just need to know that you're next to the person and you're going to be able to hit them as long as you're facing the right direction. Like that's completely different than having a little crosshair in the center,
Yeah.
shooting an arrow or a lightning bolt or whatever, trying to hit them. So,
Yeah.
like, I think that's just my general stance on it. I don't really understand like the huge argument with people feeling like there's too much of this or not enough of that or whatever. It's just about what feels good. And I think honestly, at this point, I feel like all the arguments are kind of they don't have much to stand on because we haven't really gotten in there and gotten to play it yet.
Mhm.
Everybody's just basing it off of what they've seen. So I guess that's where I'm coming from with it. Is like let's talk about it once we've actually had the experience of playing it and actually
Yeah.
seeing what feels good and what doesn't.
I think we will start to realize that there's comparisons you can make, right? But Ashes of Creation is just going to be Ashes of Creation. It's looking pretty unique the more you break it down. Most tab
Exactly.
target games don't have an active block.
Yeah.
And most tab
No,
target
no, not at
games,
all.
like AOC, have the evasion stat, which you already know is a thing. So having access to active block and an evasion stat sounds insane, like for a tank, right? Like it sounds crazy, especially once they get that stamina bar implemented. And Trent, I just saw that you said there was a stamina bar last stream. I did not see that. You're gonna have to send that
Yep.
to me.
Ooh, dude, that was something too. Is that I like I'm someone who I like the hybrid system. I like that idea. Like I said, I like the idea of like tab with cleaves, whatever you want to call it, hybrid. But like I love the idea of active block, and I don't consider that an action mechanic. I just consider that active block. I just feel like people like to put things in like 2 different boxes and then become dogmatic about it. Where it's like, dude, just enjoy what it's like, what the system's gonna be. I have a hard time when people are like want things black and white, where it's like, dude, the best spot is typically always in the middle.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I look at a combat system like this, like the entire overall combat system, it's kind of like a steak, right? There's more aspects to the steak than just any one thing. The tab versus action, it's just the seasoning on it, right? You just have the seasoning, then you have the cut, you have how well it's cooked, how it's cooked. There's so many other aspects to it, and people are just hyper focused on this one specific thing, and it's everything as a whole. To me, it's how fast is it going to play? Like, how is it going to feel to play that? Like, that's exactly what Annie said. Like, how it feels when you play it is important. Is it going to feel slower like an MMO from 20 years ago? If that's the case, then I think we're going to have issues where it's going to feel more dated. Or is it going to actually, like, is it going to feel more engaging to play? Whether it's action, hybrid, or tab doesn't really matter. It's not a big part of the equation, in my opinion.
It's actually funny because you bring that up too, because I feel like if you were to go like completely, well, even if you say action combat, because BDO's combat versus New World's combat is completely different.
Yeah.
Like BDO has like Capcom combat, always feels like an arcade game to me. I couldn't get into it. And then New World like feels, I mean, it's okay. But I don't use range weapons, but it feels slow. It feels very, very slow. And that's one of the things I didn't care for. Movement feels slow. Your character feels slow. The attacks feel super slow. I mean, especially using Greatsword, there were times where I'm like, God, can I just fucking hit?
That's how I feel. I feel like it's all just buzzwords for people to get in a tizzy over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like it ultimately comes down to the game and how they execute it is what feels good. It can feel good in any game to have action, and it can feel good in any game to have tab. It just depends on how it's done.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not going to call them out, but somebody in chat said the action combat showcase wasn't good or something to that extent. Yeah, they said the fighter showcase was not as great as we'd like it to be. And I am appalled. That was.
Let's say, did we watch the same showcase?
Can we ban
I was
him?
like, I love that.
I'm sorry.
You need to get glasses.
I'm calling you out, Mr. Dross Leona. Thank you so much for being here, by the way. But that is blasphemy. This will not be tolerated here.
I loved it.
Dude,
It
it
was
made me
amazing.
consider like, it's made me think of like abandoning tank, and I haven't picked up a DPS in over 10 years.
You had the
Like,
same conflict I did then.
Yeah, I was like, dude, like I'm
That's what
still
I was
having the
saying.
conflict where I look at the kit.
I normally play a ranger, and I was like, man, this looks fun as hell. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna be
test it out. Yeah.
I was gonna be tank fighter, and then I was like, fighter tank, you say?
Yeah.
That's I do Dreadnought. I'm looking at it, dude. I'm looking at it.
But yeah, I really that showed everything that I needed to see as far as Ashes of Creation combat. Like, I mean, obviously everything before we saw the Ranger showcase, we saw everything leading up to that, but that right there let me know what to expect from Melee. Like, solidified everything we thought. It was really, really good. I like to switch gears here and let's talk about the Chaos and Lace Cartel. I think is the name of your guild.
Yeah.
So let us know what your guild is all about. This is your chance. This is your pitch meeting. This is the moment you've been waiting for. There is somebody in the audience right now saying, dang, I want to play Ashes of Creation. I can't play this game solo like I usually do. I'm going to need some help. This looks really tough. Who's going to be there for me? What guild do I join? Who is the best guild? And action.
As a proper cartel, we will have drugs. We will have brothels.
Sold. Sold.
Just kidding.
Dude, if they so I did make that joke that I was like, dude, I would love, especially with how how religious nodes are going to have catacombs. I'm like, do you know how awesome it would be to be like a cartel that can run contraband through like some type of temple, because like just set up a cartel. I'm like, dude, the thematics of that are amazing. But no, like we don't really see our, I guess if you're looking at, there's two ways to look at it. I can tell you what the guild actually does, and then some of the ideas behind it. The whole idea of Chaos and Lace is that we're more of like a chaotic neutral guild where we're going to do what suits us. If it means that sometimes we're the good guys, sometimes we'll be the good guys. If it means being the bad guys and stabbing people in the back, we'll stab people in the back. It's whatever suits our guild. So that's one way to look at it. And then Annie and I used to be guild leaders in World of Warcraft. We were on our server. We were the top tanks. I think in WoD when we had started, I think there at a point towards the end of Miss Pandaria, I think on our server, we were some of the highest ranked tanks. So Annie and I have been guild leading. We've been raid leading together for years and years and years, which is why we're so excited for Ashes, so we can get back to doing that. But I would say we fall more into that semi-hardcore. When we originally started the guild, we thought about if it more being maybe a casual community guild, and then as things have progressed, it's kind of turned.
And because as time's gone on, our kids have gotten older, so we've had more free time.
That's kind of where we didn't know when the game was going to come out, so we were like, man, can we even run? Like it started off as originally it was just a little guild for Alpha 1. We had some people that we played with, and it was like, man, I don't know if we're going to be able to run a guild. And then as it was before I was making content and stuff too, and it was like as more and more that Ashes became priority, it was like, oh man, like I think we want to do this. I think we want to get back into, treating this like it's a full-time job. Like we were raiding when we play WoW, we were raiding multiple times a week. We were probably putting in ungodly amount of hours. Like I can't even remember, like just disgusting amount of hours into World of Warcraft. And I don't know if we'll be able to get as hardcore with that with Ashes, but we're more of a council based guild, so I plan on building out an inner circle, like kind of within the guild, so that way a bit of the power is decentralized. I like running things like that, so I can kind of delegate things to different people, especially those with like trusted members. And I've kind of got a couple of different people that are already vying for officer spots. But I think we still are going to be more of like a semi-hardcore. Like I'm not super into chasing down world. It doesn't mean anything to me to be the first one to down a boss in a dungeon. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like it's you kind of have like two different players. You've got the finite player and the infinite player. Finite player gets in there, they just want to win, and then after a couple months they're done. I'm looking at the long game. It's like, go ahead, get that world first. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna watch how you play. I'm gonna see how you do, and then I'm gonna start getting spies into your guild. I'm gonna start to dismantle you from the inside, and when you're weak, I'm gonna slit your throat. Like that's how I plan on running the guild.
Yep.
So yeah. People, I don't think people have seen that more like competitive side of me, which I know some like the people in the guild have kind of talked with me and stuff, and Nuke's kind of rated with me. Like there are points where I just like I've kicked people mid raid because they just were not pulling their weight. And so I try to be very utilitarian with things, but I do kind of I have some expectations when it comes to people in my guild and how I think I want things to run. So yeah, so that's kind of like the rough rundown of things, but we're gonna basically plan to run things more of like a semi-hardcore with like kind of a hardcore leaning. Like I had someone who was like, man, I got health issues and like I don't think I'll be able to do as much in the guild. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna axe you because you have RL stuff. Like I'm not gonna be that type of guild. But like I expect like if you can't make raids, you are gonna start getting less priority and like loot and things like that. But obviously the people that are there more often, I'm gonna start to reward and kind of keep an eye on that of like, yeah, if you're showing up, you're doing the stuff you need to do, and I've got leadership positions open for you. We're gonna make some moves. So that's a cartel in a nutshell, I guess.
Cool. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like a lot of people that come from the MMO space, most of them play more theme park style games, and they don't realize that Ashes is going to be more of a long game. It's going to be more of a marathon instead of a sprint. And so you're going to have all these players. Right. They're like, dude, I'm going to go in right away. I'm going to grind 50 hours in the first 2 days. And I'm going to do this, and this. And I know 50 hours isn't in 2 days, but they're going to try and do it anyways. And they're just going to like try and get this huge head start. And after 6 months, it's not going to matter. The weekend warrior is going to be caught up to you, like experience wise. They're going to have all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, you were on top for a while, and that's great, but you have to stay on top, and it's not stopping anybody else from learning. With less time, with less hours, like figuring stuff out and just taking the learning curve at a better rate and catching up and getting ahead of you. And I think that's the part a lot of people are not seeing. Well, that was.
That was actually something Steven brought up because when he jumped on our show, like when he actually came on our show to discuss the Freehold thing, that was one of Annie's things. If you want to, I'll toss that to you, Annie, because.
Sorry, tossed what to me? Sorry, I was trying to do something.
Why, Steven? What was your complaint when Steven came on the show?
Who invited this guy?
No, when he actually physically, like not physically, but
several.
When he actually was on the show for the interview.
Yeah. Oh, about level rushing and people who choose to level rush and Zerg getting freeholds before everybody else. Yeah. Shut the fuck up. I'll kill you. Anyway. No, I mean, yeah, that was my biggest complaint with it, or concern, I guess, was me being somebody who wants to do animal husbandry. I need a freehold if I want to get to Grandmaster. So, and also having 3 young children, I was like, I am not going to be able to grind out this game the way a lot of other people are going to be able to. Like, I'm still going to take it seriously, but I just wouldn't be able to sink as much hours in. And when they did the Freehold showcase, that was definitely a concern of mine. It was that I was not going to be able to get a Freehold because I'm not one of those people who's going to race to max level when they announced that it was is 50, right, is max level.
Yeah, it was 50. Yeah.
That level 50 is the requirement to get a freehold. And I was like, well, that sucks because I'm definitely not going to be one of the first people to level 50 to get a freehold. And that was actually when Steven popped into our chat and was like, I think Annie's going to be able to get a freehold regardless. Because I was in the middle of I was mid bitch about this. And he popped in. And then that led to him coming on the show and providing clarification of how they're going to have these different ways you can get a freehold besides just hitting level 50. So
Yeah.
I can't recall off the top of my head, but there was like several different things. So it was just one of those cool moments where it's like, man, they thought of that, like that was a
Yeah.
Yeah,
concern of
because
mine and they've already thought of it and came up with a way to make it so people like myself and even people who probably are able to sink in less hours than I can still find a way to get these sought after plots of land.
but he was also saying that level rushing could end up screwing you over because
Right,
if
yeah, that
you're
part as well.
yeah, if you're not taking the time to level up certain things or you're not taking the time to focus on certain aspects, like if your whole thing is you just want to get XP and blow through it, you could get yourself in a position that you do not have the resources or the things needed by the time that you reach max level, especially for those of us that are entering the gateway for the first time where we're entering
If your whole
wilderness.
thing
Just want to get XP.
Sorry, I don't know if that came through.
It did. But nodes have to level. So if you don't get nodes to a certain level and you hit max level and you're the only person that's grinded out, but the node isn't a village stage,
Yeah.
what you doing? You're just gonna sit
Yeah.
there with your thumb up your
Yep.
ass and not be able to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So there are so obviously when the game's like a year out that the level rush will be whatever, but I think that's kind of when you want the level rush to happen anyway once things are kind of built out a bit more.
I think it's good that you guys brought up Freeholds there because that ties into something that we were chatting about. How you doing, Copium Clinic? Welcome on in. I think we were chatting about it today in the Voices of Verra Discord, and the topic of freeholds came up. Like, I've always said I even have a video called Astro Creation, the best and worst housing in MMOs, being that, you got a freehold, which is real estate, like actual land in the actual game world. It's not an instance thing. You got your instance
Mhm.
stuff too, right? But you have an actual piece of land. People are going to come from far and wide to visit your tavern or, in Annie's case, the brothel, et cetera, find a nice little vet girl, take her to the back, whatever. We don't judge here at the Voices of Verra. And you have these freeholds, and that's all good. But the bad thing is you have potential to lose them. Like if you don't, successfully defend that node siege, and then we were talking about, what Steven said, like there's like a period of time where you still can defend that freehold, and then if you can get it the deed to be adopted by another node within a certain amount of time, little stuff like that. And the more we looked into it, here I actually have it pulled up here in the Voice of Air preview chat. It says after the 2-hour period of open combat following a successful node siege, any remaining freeholds will exist under a grace period for roughly 1 week, where another node may take over the zone of influence of the freehold. The freehold owner will be required to undertake a quest process to have their freehold adopted by a new node if one exists. At the end of the grace period, if the freehold does not reside within a ZOI of a village, stage 3 node or above, it will be destroyed. So
Nice.
with your freehold just needing to be in another zone of influence, once your node goes down, it seems the fear of freeholds, being constantly lost or whatever, is not really that big of a deal, being that as long, like, what's the chance of you not being in a ZOI of a stage 3 node or higher, especially if you position your parcel correctly? Like, okay, my metro's here, but let me move it over here down in the middle, because you can, I think, choose a parcel anywhere in that zone of influence of your node or your metro, whatever you want to call it. Do you think that the freeholds being able to be lost, whether that be through node siege or, if you want to go on this tangent, via server transfer or server merge, do you think that can turn off a lot of players? Because housing in MMOs is it's a pretty big deal these days. Do you think that's gonna annoy some people?
It's a
And do
very
you think it's
loaded
a bad
question.
risk? Oh yeah, just answer all that.
Go ahead, Jamie.
That's yours. You're the one. I don't even give a shit about freehold, to be honest. That's all you.
I don't even, I need to think on that one for a minute because I don't have an answer right away.
Uh-oh.
Crunch, thank you for
I'll
subscribing.
I can touch on the I'll touch on the server merges. I think that in general is going to be a very painful experience for anybody, because especially if you just think of like, not even, I think if we think about it even from like, it's been a couple months and whatever, if you've been on that server for years and that server has a certain history, and they've talked about having like the library that has, you know, all the server history and stuff, and it's just for some reason this server has nothing, and you've been on this one for years, you know, the server history and everything, it is going to be extremely painful to then have that lost and merged with a different server. And most likely yours that is dead is the one that's going to have the merging.
Mm-hmm.
And then to show up and you're like, everything I have played and built for is gone. And we're not even talking about, because everything in the game can go, your node, the freeholds, but that history, the history is something that's going to be fucking painful, because there's like, you know, you might have gone back to go, I think they've said you can like kind of rewatch things or whatever, what, you know, whatever library is supposed to happen. But like, you know, that, you know, these events that took place, you know, like when, oh shit, X big streamer actually came in and kind of destroyed our nodes for a while, but that was part of the you know, tapestry of the server. And then that, I feel like that's like definitely, I feel like you can kind of get over. I feel like it will be a quit point for some people to lose their freehold just because of like, hey, we're getting merged, like you're gone. But I don't know how you even go about preventing, or how you even ease that, other than someone had brought this up, allowing people to choose a server when the server merge happens. Like, just allow people to disperse and go to servers they want to.
Yeah.
That maybe they have friends that are over there, they know about the server. Obviously, kind of giving this grace period of, we can only do so many, so first come, first serve. Hey, these are servers available. I think that's probably one of the best ways to do it, because at least like you feel like you have a choice of where you're going, versus like, hey, this is your dead servers merging with this one, where it's more of like, just let these people kind of scatter and kind of stick together if they can.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And did you think of that at all? Did you think of freehold thing?
Can you hit me with the first half of the question again?
I don't even recall at this point. It's fine.
I'm like trying to make heads or tails of it.
Annie, how do you feel about potentially losing your freehold?
I mean, I feel like I can't feel that strongly about it because I'm going into a game where everything is finite. So like it's bound to happen, and it's gonna suck when it does, because nobody likes feeling like they wasted their time. But that's what I think makes the game so much more enjoyable, is the fact that you could lose it all. Like, it adds an edge to it that you don't find in a lot of games. Like, I don't know about anybody else in the chat, but I've dabbled in some of the hardcore versions of games, and like, it's that much more exciting because you could just lose it all if you mess up. So
that sense of prestige.
right, exactly. And it feels like you worked hard and earned it that much more, and it makes it that much more rewarding. But of course, it stings when it doesn't go the way you were hoping. So yeah, like I think I can agree with everybody that's gonna suck if that happens. But that's what also makes it enjoyable, is that there is that risk, and you can sit there and be like, I still have a freehold. Like, my node was sieged and we didn't go down, and I got to keep my freehold. You know.
Yes, Shibi, thank you so much for subscribing.
Yeah,
she said, "Yay, a chaotic great stream."
Yes.
Yes.
Unlace the chaos.
It's funny looking at sandbox games in general, because like you see a bunch of people talk about it and they're like, man, it's gonna really suck when I lose this, it's really gonna suck when I lose this. And it's like, yeah, I mean, the game only ends when you quit. Like, you're gonna have down moments, like maybe we lose a freehold, maybe we lose our node, but it like that only ends at that point in time. Then you get to go through the entire process of building back better, building back stronger, and then kicking their ass and getting revenge. And then the revenge is going to feel so much better because you went through the pain to begin with. And so it's just one of those, like, yeah, you're going to lose stuff sometimes. Like, that's just the way it's going to be. And you're going to, it's a value of it not just existing forever. Like, I forget the game that people were talking about, but there's just been so many other MMORPGs that have existed where if you logged on early and you got 50 to 60 hours in right away, you just had a head start over everybody throughout to the end of the game. And it just like existed. We're like, yeah, we got this house, we were able to have this bank, we were able to have this, and now we have the advantage over everybody. We get to sit back on our laurels and not do anything. And in this game, you can't do that. The minute you start, you're top dog, like, everybody's headhunting you, and it's great. Like, now it's like, okay, if I want to be top dog, if I want to be the best guild, if I want to be the best node, I need to continually do this or else I lose it. And that's the cool part of it, in my opinion.
That
I
ties
think
into what some people in chat said. Gutscore said there's an emotional attachment. Fade said the emotions in war will be insane. Everyone's talking about the emotions. Like Keyboard Oracle says, consequence. Consequence makes you emotionally involved. Like people are going to be next level attached to this game, to their freehold, to their node, to their guild leader, to their castle, to their freaking mount that apparently you can jack. You can jack people's mounts. Apparently,
I didn't
were you
know
guys
that.
aware of this Grand Theft Auto
Yeah, I didn't
stuff?
know
I
that.
don't think.
Is that a
I
thing?
think that's more of a bug and less of a feature.
That'd be hilarious.
From my understanding of
Don't
talking
ruin
to
it for
DA,
him.
that seems like that's more of a bug than a feature.
Oh, that's too bad.
Bro,
That's funny.
imagine you're the
I
mayor.
mean, honestly, though, bouncing back to what I said, I think in the case of a server merge, though, I feel like that would be a big hit because there wasn't really anything short of sending your referral link to every single person you possibly know to join your server, much you could do to stop that from happening. So,
Yeah.
like that one does suck because no matter what you do, like that time you sunk into it is all for naught.
I think the thing that's interesting with the whole loss thing is that after AI stopped playing World of Warcraft, we kind of started to move into survival games, and Conan Exiles was our main game for a long time. And there's plenty of times where we lost everything because it's just how the nature of the game. Like you build things, it gets destroyed by purges, or like the game was super buggy when we played it. We lost a bunch of boss keys. Like we went and did a bunch of bosses and collected skeleton keys that would allow us to get open chests to get legendaries, and we just out of bugs lost a complete chest full of probably like 10 different keys. And that was quite a bit of grinding to get those. And it was the nature of the game. It's just you lost it and you just go. It's like, what are you going to do about it? Like it's so interesting too, because of in Conan that we played at, one of my best memories from that, because you would drop your equipment in that game. And I think one of the interesting things too is that stress kind of ties things to memory. I don't remember a lot of like things in World of Warcraft, but I remember this specific thing in Conan. AI were doing a dungeon. I died. I lost all of my gear, so I respawn over at my bedroll completely naked. I had to run through the village. I had to kill someone on top of this temple to be able to get the temple open up. So I'm running through there. I kill the NPCs, steal their weapon, run all the way back through the dungeon, get back to where Annie was, roll, pick up my shit, dive out of the boss's acid, and then we both killed the boss. I remember that so vividly because of how stressed out I was that I was going to lose all of my gear and that I was going to lose everything. And
It
like
made it
was
so fun.
it was so fun because there was the threat of like, if
And
I
I
don't get to
was
my body
during that
fast
whole
enough.
thing, you have to bring a shield with you because the boss spits acid at you, so you have to hold your shield up the whole time to block it. So I'm like hiding him. He stays in the center, but I'm like walking in a circle around him with the shield up the whole time, like being like, "Hurry up,
Please don't die.
come on!"
Don't die. Don't
Because you
die.
still sometimes get some splash damage from it. So it was just real fun, and it was very edgy, like Jamie said. But that made it so much more worth it when he was actually able to recover his stuff, and then we were able to down the boss.
But like when thinking of like World of Warcraft, like going around killing mobs in the open world, I don't remember anything. I don't remember any. Like the only times I do remember is Annie and I turning on war mode, where like Annie was minding her own business. She saw this mage, she left him alone, and then all of a sudden he ganked her, and then she got real pissed, and she's like, "We're hunting this guy down. We're murdering him." And I was like, "Yeah,
So
I
it
remember
should
all
be.
those. I remember the stressful, fun like PvP interactions, like the things that actually create those memories where you're like, dude, that was so much fun." And like you're gonna have there's this theory, I never remember the principle, but like there's this thing where like you need a bit of suck for like that good thing to feel good. Because like if you're constantly just being fed things where it's like, here, you're safe, whatever. That's why these games die when no one cares, because it's like I just get everything and I'm never in danger. I can pull 50 mobs and not die. But like if you're in a spot where it's like, dude, if I die, I'm losing things. I'm gonna lose my, I'm gonna lose some materials because someone killed me, or I'm gonna gain corruption because I killed someone, or I'm gonna get this. Like there's so much threat in there where like you're going to be playing the game and you're going to have that sense of like, oh shit, this is a dangerous world that I'm in. And I think someone said embrace the suck, dude. I lived for like a decade, and like my every day was embracing the suck. Like it just toughen up,
lifted
guys.
weights
Toughen the
is
fuck
what
up.
he's saying. Lifted weights.
What did I say?
You guys really I like what you said there, Jamie. Basically saying the risk is what create those memories. And Ashes of Creation is all about risk versus reward. You don't get those memories. Sure, you get your cool PvP moments. You get like, oh, I finally defeated that trial I've been stuck on for a week. But you
Nobody's
don't get
remembering the
those.
time they were wrapped in bubble wrap.
Yeah, like there has to be some sort of challenge there, right? For it
Yep.
to stick in
Right.
there. You know, when you said WoW, it made me think of WoW Hardcore. Like I remember seeing so many cool stories and like most of them toxic. But I used to I actually like watching the hardcore death compilations and the streamer reactions.
Oh, we
like,
watched a few of those. We watched a few of those.
dude, they're
Yeah, it's
so
great.
good,
It's so
man. They're
good.
so good. And it just lets you know, like, because you're so invested in that character, time, like money is one thing, but time is something like they lost that whole character, and that's where you get those memories. They'll never forget that death. They made it all the way to level whatever and then got ganked, or this mob pool, or they trusted the wrong person, you know?
Yeah, that's
Like,
the thing. Like that's what I want out of Ashes. That's one of the biggest appeals for me is that my decisions, my actions matter. Like the thing, like my time spent in the game actually feels like it contributes to something, rather than we had left WoW in the middle of WoD, and then we came back like probably a week or two at the end of Shadowlands to test out Dragonflight,
Hmm.
and we went back to it, and I'm like, man, it's still the same boring treadmill where it's like, okay, I went here, I got my gear, and now I'm waiting for this next raid to unlock. I got the gear, I'm back in the treadmill. I'm like, God, I fucking hate raid logging. I hate doing this. Like, I'm like, I am so sick of feeling stuck on a treadmill. Like, I can go in the open world, and like, dude, that's when I started experimenting with PvP, because I was like, I'm sick of raiding. I can't do it anymore. I got so frustrated that I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm like, I'd been a PvEer my entire up until I found Ashes. Like I was a straight up PvEer. I never touched PvP. And then once I found Ashes, I started doing PvP. But I was like, I just got so frustrated. I'm like, I'm done. I'm only doing. I told Annie too. I'm like, I'm done raiding. Because we were having to do pugs and stuff. And I'm like, God, this is terrible. It was so
The
bad.
worst.
I couldn't do it anymore because like obviously our guild had dissolved, but like I jumped into PvP and I'm like, dude, I fucking love PvP.
I played this is a long time ago. I played this top down like castle siege game where it's just like the combat didn't exist. They all calculated it, but it was still fun because it was PvX. You killed stuff to collect food to feed your troops, and like you slowly built your armies and stuff. And we had alliances on there, so it was 100-person alliances, and you'd try and take over, and you'd have disagreements with other alliances, and the one that I was in, we attacked everybody. We were just like, you know what, everybody, we're going to war with everybody at the same time. We don't care. Like until you want to fight back, you're basically like, we'll take all your food. We were ruthless, is what I'm trying to say. And so it went like that for a while, and we had one group that we were allied with, and after a while, what they did is they conspired behind our back with like 10 other alliances, and we hopped on one day and they took out like all of our big hitters in one day. They all just hopped in and they just took us out, and we weren't expecting it. We weren't expecting to get backstabbed by the only other alliance, and it turned out it was over just like the silliest disagreement. Like they misread something that was said and then they got really pissed off about it. But the thing is they wiped us. Like we were on the defensive. We were backpedaled for weeks trying to get stuff back. But the revenge was so good. Our revenge was so sweet and so good after that happened. So
that reminds me of when I first introduced Annie to WoW. We played on a private server called Fire Square, and we had started and we joined the main guild that was on there. And at some point, I was like, okay, I think we're gonna be done. I think we're gonna like start our own guild. So we broke off, and then I had kind of mentioned that to Annie. So it was like right after she had used the bank, but she wasn't ninja looting. She was just like, oh, okay, well, all right. She had got something from the bank. She's like, oh, I guess, oh yeah, sure, let's start our own guild. Dude, it turned into this whole thing that I didn't even realize was happening.
Into this whole thing of drama, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was not even the intention, and they wouldn't believe me. I was like, I don't know. I'm a very like by the I'm a rule follower, I guess, when it comes down to. So I was like, oh my goodness. And then of course, because that's the reputation I gained that I was a ninja looter from their guild bank, like them
Oh
being the bigger
boy.
guild, there
yeah.
was a bunch of other people who wanted to join our guild from theirs that did the same exact
It did the
goddamn
same
thing.
thing.
And they're like, we did it
They
too.
looted
We
the
brought
fucking bank.
this and this and this. And I was
Oh
like,
my
oh
goodness.
my
I was like,
God.
oh my God. I was like, guys, you need to
like-
stop. You need to stop.
I
But
was like, this was not intentional. I was like, you're gonna get us in trouble from like the people who run this server.
Oh,
so the
man.
guys who ran the server who had the guild were kind of dickish. Like obviously they should have been upset by that, which I thought was hilarious. But then Annie and I started like aggressively like recruiting, and we ended up amassing this really big guild. I didn't know that you could get into the global chat, and then like there was a enter /global, and then I realized the entire server was talking shit about us.
Yeah.
And like I that's when like I first got super competitive, because I was like, you guys, I was like, we're gonna build up our guild, and we did. We stole their members. We ended up getting. Yeah, dude. I was like, I'm surprised they didn't ban us from the server. Like we like started building our stuff up, and like we were super aggressive. We were like, you go in there, I want you to start like find people that maybe like we could use for our guild.
Yeah.
So like I've kind of already done this shit. Like I'm excited for it, but
Yeah.
it started so unintentionally, but
unintentionally.
Like,
Right.
oh, you think I'm this way? Okay, I will be this way now. Now that you already think it.
yeah, that's kind of how it went. It was like, if you guys are gonna
Oh
treat
my
us this
God.
way,
I
we're just
remember
gonna
too,
be your nightmare.
there was this guy on the server who was like the hotshot of the server. His name was Bane. He gave me so much shit. He was not very nice to me, but I remember him being like, he was like, I bet you haven't even killed the Lich King yet.
He's so high and mighty about it.
Because that's what we were doing at the time, even though I think it was when Cataclysm was out for retail. It's like,
Cataclysm was just about to come out for retail, and then that's when we switched over. But like they had to, the server was whatever, like it was kind of jank. So they were working on getting the Lich King fight to work. But I was like, we went over to retail to down the Lich King. I was like, you guys are a bunch of fucking morons. Like we had no problem doing it. I don't know what your problem was.
so funny. I'll always remember that.
That reminds me, tying back into you guys' guild, you said you started, kind of casual, and eventually, you're like, we're gonna go hardcore. We can do this. We can make our name in ashes with the Chaos and Lace Cartel. Do you think or expect guilds to start off hardcore in Alpha 2? Like, they're not going to wait for launch. They're going to hit the ground running. It's going to be looked at as a training session. Like, even for an alpha test, maybe we get a wipe. They said they're going to try to avoid wipes, but even though there's going to be wipes, do you think guilds, even in as early as Alpha 2, month 1, week 1, day 1, they're going to be like, all right, we're taking it serious. I need everyone here at this world boss. We're going to do this. We're going to, declare this node war, etc.
I think quite a few of them are going to burn themselves out.
Yeah,
that's what I was just
because they're prepared to start playing the game like it's real life, and if the bugs don't get to them, I think the fact that not everything is available right at the start is so you're going to have some holes missing when you're trying to run like a crazy organized guild like that when you don't have all of the systems in place to do so. And also, I think starting out too strict can cause some issues with hierarchy and that kind of thing, and people who want to play the game a certain way. So I guess we'll have to see, but I think there's quite a few guilds that are going to go in hard, and then they're going to probably crumble as time goes on. There'll definitely be some that stick around if they have their ducks in a row, I guess. But that's my opinion of it. Is like, I think it's better to kind of come in with the let's get into the game and see what works for us first, and then start working from there instead of like going with a plan without actually knowing what you're getting into and biting off more than you can chew.
I've seen graphs, Excel sheets, and other things. Like I've got eyes places, and I'm like, you guys, what are you doing right now? I was like, you're putting in so much.
That you have eyes places.
I do, guys, get used to it. I'm gonna have my fingers and everything.
He's like Varys over here. Just we got little birds everywhere.
I do. I have shadows and spies, dude. I already do. I've got my little birds. And the thing is, it's like I'm seeing some of this stuff, and I'm like, why are you guys even wasting effort on this right now? We don't know what the guild perks are. We don't like. I think some people are so set that their Zerg Ball guilds are going to work, where it's like you don't know yet if that's the way. Because it doesn't matter. Like it, I can say that I'm not going to do a meta. I'm not. I'm going to do the things that I know work for me. But I'm going to min max the fuck out of the guild too. Like I'm going to do it with my build. I'm going to do it with the guild. Where I look, where is that break point where, okay, this is how many people you really want to be able to get this. And then now we're going to make a sister guild. Like we need to expand here. Doing like, all right, we're going in, we're going to have 300 here. We're going to have 300 here. We're going to separate it by PV years and PV years. And it's like, Are you sure that's going to work? Are you sure it's not going to
Yeah.
be as PVX as you think? Where's your crafter side of this? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of arguments where people are like, oh, well, we've got our PvEers and PvPers. I'm like, you realize it's a PVX game, right? Like, what are you should, you
Putting
know what
people
your
into a
guild should
box
be?
already.
Your guild should be PVX. You should be looking for PVXers because that's what I'm doing. I'm looking for people who that's like kind of a thing. I don't want PvEers and I don't want PvPers. If you're not interested in doing, I guess that's for some of you who may have joined the guild who don't know that this is like a requirement. You need, but everyone does it because I am one of the people who talks very loud about being very open about liking PVX, and from the stance of I want you to do everything. Like you need to do everything. So like the whole idea where it's like, oh, we've got our PvE guys or PvP guys. This is stupid. Like, what are you doing? And then the whole idea of like trying to build out everything before you've even stepped foot in the game as a guild, like you're gonna start to fall apart. You're gonna have friction, and that's fine. Do that. Everyone right now that's got all your graphs. Continue using them. Continue using them through Alpha 2. Go all the way up until launch. Burn yourselves out. Have everyone start to fracture. Get have guild drama in between. Like do all that stuff because by the time that we get there, we'll just be we'll step over your corpses and then we'll get what we want.
Jamie said you are not going to excel with those Excel spreadsheets. You heard it here.
That's true. Not right now, dude. Not without having fucking stats and numbers and analytics to look at.
I feel like Alpha 2 is an opportunity that you're going to have ahead of everybody else who's going to be there at beta and launch to get to know the systems in the game and kind of make your plan from there. So I feel like it's kind of silly to go into it with a plan when you don't have that knowledge yet. And like that's kind of my feeling of it is we're in there to figure out the game and get, I guess, a bit of a competitive edge to do so. But if you go in there wanting the game to play in a way that you think it's supposed to play and it's not actually that way, then you're setting yourself back. Like you have to go in with an open mind and be open for things to adjust accordingly.
Toast, I just want to say, maybe I'm already messing with you. Maybe it's a head game. Maybe I'm not in there.
Oh God.
Maybe you
Starting
don't know.
drama.
You don't even know.
So here's my tangent on this. Do you see what I did there? Nice. You did it earlier, so I had to do it.
That's good.
So it's funny because I'm looking at Alpha 2 personally as just it's a blank canvas for me to learn the game, to learn the systems, to figure stuff out. And to completely agree with Jamie and Annie here, the minute you shoehorn yourself into needing to be one specific way, you're closing down options of ways that your guild could be better, or the ways that you're how you're going to run things are going to be better. And an analogy I can put forward is like, Nice, you and I, we theory crafted on the Elder Scrolls Online. We came up with different builds. How many times have you been stuck with a build? You have a finite set of skills. You have 10 skills that you can use. You have 2 ultimates you can use on your front and back bar, and you're like, I need this skill, I need this skill, I need this skill. And you always felt shoehorned in because you're like, I need these certain skills. And then all of a sudden, like for me, I would have a friend go, well, what about this skill? And it would just kind of like unlock something in your brain, like, holy shit, like, yeah, I actually don't need this because I could supplement with this specific thing. And it can and all of a sudden it opens up your mind to where you can go, okay, well, I can actually run this, and holy shit, this is actually better. But I was so stuck in I needed this specific way.
Mm-hmm.
And how it applies to guilds is if you're going into it thinking you're going to need a big group and you're going to separate PvE and PvP, you could be looking at it all wrong. If you're going into it thinking like ball group is the way, it could be right. It could be wrong. And if you're going to try and shoehorn that into happening, like you could be in for a struggle, and you're not going to have fun with it because there could be just a better way.
That's why I want to see the perks. Like I feel because if you do put some perks that are going to give you a massive advantage, say you're one of the smaller guild perks is that your AoEs do more damage against people that are in like a larger amount of people. Mm-hmm. So now you're telling me that I can build an anti-Zerg based off of the perks within my guild. I'd be like, yeah, why would I already hamstring? Because the thing is too, if you look at say like a Zerg guild versus a smaller guild, Zerg guilds by nature or big guilds by nature are going to be more Zergy. They're not going to be as dialed in. They're not going to they might have some really good players, but I would say I'm going to probably err on a high side. 80% of their players are not top end players. I'm going to give them 20% of their players maybe are good. It's probably closer to like 5 to 10% are really good players. Whereas if you look at a guild that's probably hanging out between like 100, 150 people, and you can design, I'm not going to tell you guys, maybe I will. Go ahead, copy this. I don't give a shit. If you take that and then you make sure that you have some type of council, and then the council oversees different training officers, and those training officers have core groups that they need to train, and you make sure these people work really well together, and then you know that, okay, I can trust this because this hierarchy also works with these guys, so they're going to take commands well, and that's how you kind of divide that out. Like if you can have a lot more strategy control and have that trickle down, like that guild by nature is going to be way more prepared for, you know, this 300 people that are just rolling in, that like half of them are asleep
stop
at the
giving
keyboard.
away our secrets.
Yeah,
go ahead, do it.
You just updated
more
everyone's spreadsheets, indeed.
Yeah,
that's
Right.
fine. Yeah, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just giving false information.
Oh wait, no,
That's
that's
long
what you
game.
want us to think, that you want us to think, that you want us to think that, because we think
maybe
that.
I have 300. Maybe it's going to be a 300 person Zerg guild. Maybe we're going to have an alliance that has, you know, 4 different guilds attached to it. You guys don't know.
could be the
290 crafters, secret meta.
I
Yeah,
don't even
290
know.
crafters. Maybe everyone's just crafter mains.
Yeah, making gold and hiring out
Like-
PvPers.
My cat fell asleep on me.
Oh,
That's the best.
No.
more so on the line once again with Alpha 2 and guilds. I forgot how do you say his name. It's Fant MX or something
Phantom
like that.
Max.
Oh.
Phantom Max is what I saw.
saw a
today.
video today that was
Fant MX.
different spelling of that.
What is it?
Oh my
Phantom
God.
Max? Yeah.
Oh
I saw
yeah.
Phantom Max today.
Fat Max.
Makes me think of the soda.
Yeah.
The Fanta.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. So he posted one of his videos to Reddit, and it's not what this is about. I put it in our chat. It's also in the official VoV previews for you guys that want to read it yourself. But I screenshotted one of his comments on Reddit, and I thought it was interesting. I'll go ahead and just read it to you guys right now. This is from Fant MX. He says, now that we know 1,000 Alpha 1 testers will be getting brought in with PI, and not long after that, all of them, I think it's time to really understand what we should expect during Alpha 2. Bugs, and more bugs. The game will have numerous issues that we will help Intrepid work through, so be prepared for that. Also, I wanted to highlight an interesting comment on this video from Penumbra about people taking time off work for the start of Alpha 2, because I think is a great point. Quote, anyone taking time off work at the start of Alpha 2 is in for a real shock. The game might even have to be taken down for days at a time to fix major issues. Hardcore gamers need to understand this isn't even close to a real game. It's not even half a real game. It's not even half of a game. Limited nodes, limited systems, limited characters, limited progression, the list goes on. Time off of work is nice if you can afford it and need a break from it, but scheduling your life around the testing of a game that doesn't exist yet is not a good plan. Quote. I think that's a really good take. Jamie, you said you have mixed feelings about it. I think I do too. And I don't know if it's just us being content creators or what. But for me, it's not even the content creator thing. I plan on taking time. I'm gonna at least do 2 days. Personally, at least I saved my time off. I planned on taking off for Alpha 2. It's just a test. I know it's gonna be downtimes. I know it's not gonna be all perfect, but I'm gonna at least take off the first 2 days, personally. And that's just what I've just planned to do. I don't see why I wouldn't.
So
What do
one
you
thing
think?
with like one thing with Alpha 1 is that there was one time where they had a scheduled test and it didn't go well. I think it was like the first day, and I think it got pushed back by like 12 hours. That was the only time where there was a time where we couldn't get in. Obviously, you would have client crashes and things like that. If we're looking at Alpha 2, if we're looking at going into Alpha 2, I would assume that, yeah, there's probably going to be times where they might have to take things down. The idea that's going to be down for multiple days is a hard sell for me. I just don't see that. It could happen. It could happen, but based off of my experience from Intrepid, that's not how they operate. Like things come up very insanely fast. Iteration happens insanely fast. Like you will talk about
Yeah.
something and the next day it's already implemented and you're like, what? How the fuck are you guys moving so quickly?
I don't
As
know
a
if you
before-
non-techie person, I was like, wow.
Like,
Yeah, like they,
before we get into it, I just want to say we recently saw PAX Day, their beta and then their content creator thing. And what you saw is the game constantly being taken offline because this is their first attempt at like essentially networking or making sure, seeing instabilities, coming across issues, people reporting bugs. They're taking it down. Sometimes it's just 10 minutes, sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes it's 2 hours.
Yep.
I even
Yeah,
saw it
definitely
today
expect
while I was at work. I saw it with Quinfall while I was at work. By the way, I will be streaming Quinfall after this stream. And giving away some keys for anyone that is interested. But I seen while I was at work with Quinfall getting the server pings like, hey, gonna have to take this down for 10 minutes. Hey, we know we ran into this issue. We have to expect that with Alpha 2 launch. Maybe
Yeah.
the reality of Alpha 1 spot testing exists kind of minimizes that, right? To where it's not a big,
Right.
long
That's kind of
downtime.
where I'm at. Where like I feel like they're gonna have a rough idea of like what they can handle, but like I guess my thought of this is like if you are super excited for this, like take the vacation time off if you can afford it and this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like the idea of like, oh,
Right.
it's gonna be like if you don't care about that, should be the thing is like it's gonna be buggy. It's gonna be an alpha. We right now we don't fully know what's in there. There could be a bit more content than we think, there could be less than we think. But at this point we don't know. But like if you are someone who is like even if I wasn't making content, like I think I've got like 3 weeks saved. I'm going to be taking like some time off to be able to dive into Alpha 2 and do some stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been holding on to that vacation time for quite a while. But even if I wasn't doing content, I would still be planning my time around taking that time off, knowing, and I like how many of us have been there for day one, like day one MMO launches. Like you never play. You don't play during launches, you don't play during patches, and you don't play during expansion. But you know what we all do? We all try to play. So
Yeah.
I've got mixed feelings on it because
I mean,
I would
if
say,
you're sorry, if you're excited about it, like, and that's what you want to do is take your time off, then like do it, but just be prepared to go out and touch grass if things don't go right.
Yeah.
But like
if you have your
afford to do it,
expectations
like,
right, then you're fine.
yeah,
Right.
and if you can't afford to do it, don't do it. Like that would be the dumbest thing. Like guys, the game's in fucking development. Like don't do dumb things right now. Like if you can't afford a key, don't buy a key. If you can't do XYZ, don't do it. Like you're going to be able to eventually play this game at launch for what, $15 a month. Wait till launch. If you like it, there is nothing you are getting other than like getting to test. Like that's what people need to understand. You're getting nothing but the ability to test. Content creators are in a bit of a different spot because like a lot of us want to get in, show it. We want to bring the news to everybody. Like that's one of the things that why you would, as a content creator, it almost feels like you need to have this because you want to be able to present this to everybody. You want to show everyone what's going on. So that's a different spot. But if you're someone who like, you only plan on testing for like a week and you can't handle bugs, you can't handle crashes, you can't handle your character wipe, you can't handle, whatever, wait. Don't buy like because the keys are going to be coming out. Don't buy keys if you're not someone who's planning on testing. Don't buy the key. Like don't do. There's no reason to.
Yeah, I think Phantom X has a good point overall in just curbing expectations on this because the reason I'm bringing it up this way is I do agree with you guys. Like if you want to take the time off, you should. But I saw this argument last week that people that are purchasing the keys are going to go into this thinking that this is early access. And it's like, how many times does Intrepid have to say that this is not early access before you realize
I have an
that
interesting take on this.
But it's just so funny because it's like they've said it. I don't know how many times I've heard it. That's not early access. We're work in progress. We've heard the spiel, and it's still people are like, man, what happens if we log into Alpha 2 and the game is down for a day? Well, then it's down for a day because it's in Alpha 2 and they're testing stuff. Like we'll figure it out when we get there, and. It's like I think having realistic expectations that like we're gonna have bugs, we're gonna have issues, the game's gonna be down sometimes. Just have that in your expectations as well. Just know that this can happen and you'll be okay for it.
So with the EA thing, I've actually had this argument a couple times now, and someone had brought to me what Steam actually calls an early access game, which I was basing. I think people have some confirmation bias based off of their experiences of playing early access. If you've played really good early access games, hearing someone say it's an early access game, you're like, oh my God, no. If you're someone who's played really shitty ones, then you kind of have a different spot. On
Yeah.
Steam, early access says get instant access and start playing. Get involved with this game as it develops. The early access game is not complete and may or may not change further. If you are not excited to play this game in its current state, then you should wait to see if the game progresses further in development. So really, early access does mean it's just in development. It essentially means you could take that how you want it, but it means a game that is still in development. So I was one of those people where I was like, oh my God, don't say early access, don't say early access, because I played really good early access games. Most of the games I play right now are early access, and by the time they launch, I'm done with the game because I'm like, I already played that. I've sunk thousands of hours in.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's but if you're someone who's like, yeah, early access means buggy, disgust, like I can't even barely playable, then you've got a different frame of reference. So going actually by the Steam, like what Steam says, you could kind of quantify Ashes as an early access game. It's more of a semantics thing, but I did find that interesting where it's based off of people's expectations of what early access actually means to them.
Sure.
Crystal said something funny
think-
here. I'm going to be playing the character creator until launch. I'm going to make so many weird characters. Custom
so
character
good.
sliders is going to be so big. Like, I know it's big for Elden Ring, like making your character look like someone in IRL or a certain character. And like, if you can get the sliders right and like you post it, people love that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. I forgot what I was gonna say. Sorry.
Um,
I have goldfish brain.
so before we close this out here, let me paste it in Twitch chat here. Make sure you guys are following the Tangents of Creation podcast. Make sure you guys are following Jamie Chaos and Annie Lace. Grab Annie's too while I'm talking. Really good show. You guys do every Saturdays. You guys do every Saturday. Really good time. Steven stops by a lot, so you never know what you're gonna get. The most fun thing about their stream, to me, obviously the talking,
your
the
poison.
conversations, but yes, you know where I'm going with it. Obviously, it's always good discussion and things like that. But the pick your poisons are hilarious. I love that segment.
Speaking
that point
of
view.
Should we
which,
do it right
nice.
now?
Speaking of which, nice. I have these in my hand right now.
Oh boy.
Do you want to, because this is your show, do you want me to pull from Family Friendly or After Dark?
After
Okay.
dark.
After dark. Gotta be after dark.
After Dark. Okay. Let me just shuffle this for a second. All
Oh
right.
boy.
This is
Oh,
how
boy.
this is how your show gets canceled.
Oh boy.
We haven't been
Jamie
yet,
always
so-
picks shitty ones.
I'm
I'm
on
good
here.
at picking the ones.
Oh my god, hold on.
Fupo's scared. Oh no. Hey, nice. Say his name, please.
Fuppo.
It's Fupo!
Every single time I watch your stream and you say
Yeah.
Fupo, my soul dies a little bit. Like it's Fupo.
That's even
Fuppo.
better.
Unless I'm saying it wrong. Fupo. Is it Fupo or Fuppo? Maybe I'm the one who's wrong.
What the Fuppo?
Okay, are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Would
As
you
ready as I'll
rather-
ever be.
Yes.
Would you rather use a power drill to remove 3 of your own teeth without anesthetic, or discuss the
Ooh.
pros and cons of anal with your parents?
Second one, because I just
Yeah.
had 5 teeth removed and that was with anesthesia. So
I'll do the pros and cons.
Oh yeah, pros and cons of anal.
what's
Absolutely.
the pros though?
All right.
Come on,
Pros-
like
pros and
let's
cons.
be honest, isn't it all cons?
What was
It would all be
Fupo? Do you
hypothetical.
actually have to add the first one was use a power drill to remove your own teeth without anesthetic? Everyone's having the weird conversation. It seems.
I get along pretty well with my parents. I'm pretty sure I could, you know,
Have that conversation.
I could have that conversation
I
and
don't
just
like it,
like never
but
talk about it again.
Fupo's
So-
taking number 1.
Really?
Oh my
Number
goodness.
1. Oh my god.
Warrior says, "Mom used to wipe my eyes."
especially So fresh out from having
Okay.
5 teeth pulled, I couldn't do it.
That sounds painful. If I can even like go through with it, which I doubt I could. So yeah, it's definitely
Just
number
get
2 for me.
implants after. Oh my god.
Yes.
Yeah, if you
Oh,
that'd
have
be
any
awful.
like gums left, but with a power drill, I don't even know how you would get a tooth out with a drill. Like that's messed up.
you have to go for the gums, right? Yeah. See, this is just too much. We just need to.
Nice is
just
like,
have
no.
that
Just
conversation.
drilling into the nerve
I'll-
and removing
I'll-
it. Like that sounds
Mm.
awful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
I'll discuss the pros and
Yeah,
cons.
let's talk about butt stuff with mom and dad. It'll be fine.
Let's talk about
It's not
butt
a
stuff
big
with
deal.
mom and dad. There you go.
Right.
Oh my god. Real quick, I did have one other thing. So yeah, our show is on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We're actually going to be starting up a Pathfinder campaign of the going through the Tower of Carfin with whatever I can pull out of my ass on Thursday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do a little Pathfinder
Speaking of
campaign
anal,
and set in the world
pulling it up
right?
Oh my god, set in the world of Verra. So I'm excited to do that. I've got a couple other of the smaller content. I don't know, we're small content creators, but I've got some other smaller content creators running it with me. Lloyd and Lude Lloyd and Korean are going to be doing it with us along with or a Frostline, which is one of my mods.
It'd be awesome.
That sounds so. Yeah, I saw your community post. That sounds freaking sick. When is that gonna start? Is that this Thursday? It's gonna start, or?
Oh my god, yeah, on the 11th.
Okay, so that'll be this Thursday. I'll try to.
That'll be this Thursday.
I'll stop by for that. So, are you gonna have a redeem bonus so that the audience could affect the game somehow?
Yes, we have multiple kind of planned. It probably won't be like the first episode that we do, but later on, we're going to be able to, you guys will be able to chat. We'll be able to be an NPC, potentially like a boss. We've got a bunch of different things all planned out. Steven said, because Greer asked him that Steven said maybe sometime in the future being a big bad. I don't know when that would happen. Not during Alpha 2.
That'd be cool, yeah.
That would be sick.
Are we actually doing the Cupid's arrow that I suggested?
Annie wants to do one.
Calling it like a Cupid's arrow or something like that, where somebody in chat who redeems it gets to pick two of us. Well, it can be either a player and an NPC even, or a player and a player, and have them have to hit on each other.
Oh,
like role play out them hitting on that.
She said it out loud. You kind of got to do it now, Jamie. Now it's an expectation.
I know. I already said. I think Lloyd and I might have to kiss on stream. That's just what's going to happen.
It's only right.
It's gonna be a good time. This is gonna be so funny.
All right.
I have so many channel points, so you know what I'll be spending it on.
Oh my god! No, you're banned.
I always wanted to do
Pathfinder ERP stream. Yeah.
I could just picture you guys in like super geeky dungeon diver mode, like in character, like, oh, the goblin approaches from the west, and then someone redeems pick your poison. Like, all right, anal or teeth drilling, which one?
That's the thing. Well, that's the crazy thing is, I can't spoil this. I can't spoil this, but it will very much have the tangents vibe to the whole thing. It is going to be a very tangented Pathfinder experience.
Nice. I like it. I like it. So we are going to end it here, everybody. I'd like to give, as always, a big thank you to the Voices of Verra. You guys, we couldn't do this without you guys carrying chat, carrying the random tangents, the topics of discussion. I really appreciate you guys. Obviously, thank you to no one here, as always. And a big shout out once again to our guests, Jamie and Annie. Thank you guys so much for being here. Really love your show. Thank you for being here. It's always good talks.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And I see that Lore Forged and the Tavern's live. We're going to raid over. I think Lore Forged has been live for a while. We'll raid over to the Tavern. I think they started just recently. They're doing their Tavern talk tonight. I'll raid over there to them.
Okay.
Here shortly. And once again, make sure you guys are joining the Voices of Verra Discord, where you can see a preview of topics that we have planned to discuss and just talk all things Ashes of Creation. Once again, I will be live here probably shortly. Gonna try Quinfall. Apparently that's real. So, you know.
Excellent.
Give out some keys there.
Barely.
And,
say shovelware?
But yeah, we appreciate you guys. And I promise after raid, I will end the stream. Insider. Here we go.
No leaks. No leaks.
Man, I was gonna expose all of my guild secrets.
Oh,
nope.
be excellent.
We got enough from you on the spreadsheet. We got the spreadsheet already filled out with all your secret tactics.
Maybe it's an open book.
Yes. Once again, thank you guys so much. Thank you for all the follows, donations, channel memberships, etc. Subscribing.
Yes, thank you,
we appreciate you guys. Thank you for the continued support. And peace.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.